If I was to ask you how much, let's say, a T-72 Mordor tank turret weighed, what would you guess me? 4 tons? 5 tons? 6 tons? 10 tons? Well, they'd all be wrong, because the turret of a T-72 weighs 12 tons, which is about the equivalent of 4 fully grown rhinos, which just makes the footage that we're seeing out Ukraine when these tanks have that jack-in-the-box effects, it's just even more crazy when you're thinking about the weight of these turrets. Now wait for it, it's coming, it's coming. Right about, yep, there you go, bang. I just think how long that turret was in the air for, weighing up to 12 tons. It's absolutely crazy. Look at that, just completely obliterated off the face of the earth. So another one that's equally as terrifying, and that's a cook-off, which is what you're seeing now. Look at just the shoot of flame coming out from the tank. Look at that. Just incineration. And that still will eventually lead to the tank going pop. But just look at that flame. Just imagine what it must be like being in that tank before the inevitable. Yep. Fucking hell. Here's another cook-off. The Russian crews hit a mine. See the vehicle continuing to roll, and then all of a sudden, woof. Kentucky Fried Cat's up. But the craziest bit of this footage is still to come. Because somehow, some way, one of them, look, now God knows what sort of state that geezer's in, if he survived or not, but one of them made it out of there, which is just crazy. As of the 4th of November 2024, the estimated losses of the Russian military have surpassed 700,000. Tanks lost currently sits at 9,193. Armoured personnel carriers just a whopping 18,500. Now, most Western tanks have a crew of 4. Let's look at the M1 Abrams, for example. The tank commander, the driver, the gunner, and the loader. The loader manually takes the rounds from the stowage compartment and loads them into the Abrams 120mm main gun. Of the 4 roles in the tank, the loader is considered to be the easiest one to get rid of and to automate. And that's exactly what Mordor did with the T-72 and later series of their tank productions after that. The autoloader reduces the crew size by 25% and also allows the turret to be smaller, as the shells do not have to be manhandled. The smaller turret helps with lowering the profile of the T-72, making it, in comparison to the Abrams, 1 foot shorter. Another addition is that the autoloader is supposed to be faster and more efficient than humans, as well as being cheaper. One disadvantage of the autoloader is that it reduces the crew size available for field repairs or maintenance. Another is that while the French Leclerc tank has an autoloader stored away in a bustle away from the crew, the Russians opted to have their ammunition storage in the form of a carousel in the body of the tank immediately under the turret. This means there is no barrier between the crew and the stored ammunition. The Abrams ammunition storage is separate to the crew compartment and is fitted with special blowout panels, so that if the ammunition explodes, the panels blow away first, so this blast goes outwards rather than through the closed crew compartment. Because of this, the crew generally survives. With the Russian design, there are no blowout panels, because the ammunition is in the same place as the crew. Any penetrating hit in the turret or hull can set off the ammunition, with the result sometimes described as jack-in-the-box. The effect of the blast from the ammo tears the tank apart from the inside, often detaching the turret with such force that it is thrown clear. Such events are instantly fatal to the crew. The T-72 series, sometimes described as the most widely used battle tank in the world, was first produced in 1972. The Soviet Union built around 25,000 and exported them around the world, from Angola to Venezuela, from Algeria to Yemen. It was succeeded by the T-80 and then T-90 series, but thousands are still in Russian service and have been modernised, but the updating process does not go very far. GPS systems were not added. Systems may have not been added because the vehicles were made to be as cheap as possible to modernise, says Trost. But the fact the vehicles don't have this type of system is ridiculous, no matter how cheap the Russians wanted it to be. Trost says that T-72 crews apparently use consumer GPS or go without. The lack of effective navigation when the vehicle is driving with hatches down might explain why some T-72 sometimes end up in rivers or driving into lakes. Fucking hell. Also missing is effective thermal imager, an essential aid in night fighting. T-72s also suffer from a more basic design flaw, the lack of an effective reverse gear. Maximum reverse speed for a T-72 is about 4 km an hour, 2.5 miles per hour, a slow walking pace. Maybe Russia wants to discourage its tankers from retreating, but if a tank is stuck in a minefield or other situation and needs to get out fast, rather than backing away, tank commanders are forced to turn their vehicle around. This makes the tank's thinly armoured rear an obvious target for Ukrainian guns and missiles. Cheap refurbishments put plenty of tanks into the front line, but they get chewed up rapidly. Russia is pushing ahead at full speed and bringing old T-72 tanks out of storage and refurbishing them for the invasion force. But there are signs that the stockpiles are running low. Large numbers of Ukrainian FPVs with anti-tank warheads are now one of the biggest killers for the tanks. The T-72 modernisation appears to have been badly thought out and corners have been cut to reduce costs. It may not be a coincidence that Russian tank makers were rated as one of the most corrupt defence contractors in the world in a study by Transparency International. There's no way I can pronounce that, I'll put it in the pinned comment. Russia's upgrades of its even older T-62S are also fraught with problems. Reportedly, the weight of additional armour puts a strain on the engine and slows the vehicle down. For a tank that by modern standards is already struggling for speed, this isn't a good look. At some point they'll run out of vehicles to modernise in a decent way in the future. When this happens, Russia will have to build tanks from scratch. There is only one factory that can do this, which almost went bankrupt in 2016 and does not have a modern production line. Tanks are essentially hand-built at the UVZ factory, and the factory appears to be turning out just one batch of 10 tanks every few months. The T-90M Breakthrough is Russia's most modern, most advanced battle tank, and according to Vladimir Putin, the best tank in the world. It has the latest version of the 125mm gun with stabilisation and the ballistics computer, sophisticated multi-layered compound armour with additional explosive reactive armour, and an advanced electronic suite with panoramic sights, thermal imaging, and encrypted digital communications.
My niggas is savage, ruthless. We got cutters and 100 rounds too. My biggest raindrop, drop top, smoking up, cooking the hot bar. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, top. Cooking up over the crock pot. We came from nothing to something, nigga. I don't trust nobody, quick to trigger. All of the gang and they come and get gang. I mean, you never give you with my shit. Bad and bullshit, cooking up with the booze. My niggas is
Like you've just seen there, however, the T-90M has a flaw not seen in earlier Russian tanks. Even minor damage causes the turret to start spinning uncontrollably, making it incapable of further combat. This embarrassing bug, spinning turret syndrome, might help explain the numerous combat losses, as well as why there are so many abandoned T-90Ms, which are demolished by drones, dropping bombs through open hatches. Other Russian tanks don't seem to have the issue, so what's got the T-90 in a spin? One theory is that minor hits are actually penetrating the turret and killing or injuring a crew member who slumps forward over the controls. This theory says the position of the levers to control the turret mean that someone pitching onto them always causes clockwise rotation. A second explanation, put forward by a now deleted Reddit contributor, is that the problem is related to the fire control system. Like other modern tanks, the T-90M's guns has automated aiming, which rotates the turret to keep the gun locked onto designated targets. The theory says that the damage to the optics sends a false signal to the fire control system, causing the turret to spin uncontrollably. Now obviously I don't know what it is, but one thing I do know, Russian tanks are getting fucking wrecked. Thanks for watching. Slava Ukraini. Herium Slava.